On the afternoon of February 5th, 2026, deputies responding to a medical emergency in a quiet Tennessee neighborhood walked into a scene that would quickly turn into a homicide investigation. Inside that house was a man named Darron Lee, a former NFL linebacker. There are stories in sports that follow a familiar arc. There's the rise, a struggle, followed by a fade into obscurity. And for a while, Lee's story looked like it might be one of those. A gifted athlete whose professional career never quite matched the promise of his college days. But today, that story has taken a far darker turn, because Darron Lee isn't just some former football player whose career didn't pan out. He's a man sitting behind bars charged with first-degree murder. So how does someone go from playing on Sundays in the NFL to facing accusations of such a brutal crime just 10 years later? To understand that, we have to go back to the beginning. Let's dive in.
I was at the Elite 100. Is that what it was called? Elite 100. It was in Indiana, and I won the fastest man. I won the fastest man award, and I'll never forget that. I won. I had a great day, but it was I was the fastest guy there. This was kind of ironic because I'm a pretty fast guy now. I got countless memories, but I definitely remember that one for sure.
Darron Lee grew up in New Albany, Ohio. From an early age, it was clear he had something special. He became a standout football player at New Albany High School, and he received offers from Boston College, Duke, Illinois, Purdue, and Minnesota. He chose to stay home and play for Ohio State. There, he developed into one of the most explosive linebackers in the country. His college career peaked in the 2015 Sugar Bowl, a college football playoff semifinal against Alabama. With 7 tackles and 2 sacks, Lee was named the defensive MVP of that game. It was a signature performance that announced to the entire football world that he had arrived. 11 days later, the Buckeyes would go on to win the national championship against Oregon. With a national championship ring now on his finger, Lee made the decision to leave Ohio State early and declare for the 2016 NFL Draft. The next stage would be the NFL Combine, a week-long evaluation where players undergo physical tests, medical exams, and team interviews. Lee impressed scouts by running the 40-yard dash in 4.43 seconds, remarkable speed for a linebacker and faster than many NFL wide receivers. The New York Jets selected him 20th overall in the first round, signing him to a 4-year deal worth about $10.28 million guaranteed.
To this moment, did you have that realization when you're sitting in the green room waiting for your name to be called that, like, man, I've come a long way?
Absolutely. You know, you see a couple of guys get picked, and you're just seeing Joey and Zeke, those guys get picked. That's when it really hit me. I'm like, you know, your dreams are really about to come true, and your hard work's about to come true. And, you know, I can't even really put it into words sometimes, but, you know, just when I got that call, it was amazing.
But his first year was far from impressive. In fact, the analytics company Pro Football Focus ranked him as the lowest graded rookie linebacker in the league. The following year, the same company graded him 87th out of 88 linebackers who qualified for a rating. In 2018, he was suspended for 4 games for a PED violation. All in all, he played in 43 out of 64 games for the Jets, recording 4 sacks, 3 interceptions, and 241 tackles. Lee later played for several teams, including the Kansas City Chiefs. Although he was part of the organization during their 2019 championship season, he didn't appear in the playoffs, but still received a Super Bowl ring. His career ended in 2021 after short stints in Buffalo and Las Vegas. Despite early expectations, he never made a Pro Bowl, won major awards, or finished near the top of the league in any statistical category. But after his football career ended, Lee's name began appearing in the headlines again. Not for football, but for something far more troubling. By 2026, Lee was no longer in the NFL and had been staying at a rental home in Ooltewah, Tennessee, just outside Chattanooga. Around that time, he was in a relationship with a woman named Gabriella Perpetuo. Exactly how the two met hasn't been publicly detailed, but by early February, they had been together at the Ooltewah home for 10 days. Gabriella, known to family and friends as Bella, was a 29-year-old woman full of warmth and ambition. Her parents described her as a natural people person who never met a stranger. Bella was raised in Massachusetts, and at 15, her family relocated to Florida, where she would eventually lay down roots. Later, as a young woman, she moved to New York City to pursue a career in clinical journalism, drawn by the idea of storytelling within the medical world. But over time, her calling shifted. She realized that what she truly wanted was to be in the room with patients, not writing about them from the outside. So she enrolled in a college nursing program with a clear goal: to care for newborns during the most fragile hours of their lives. She was compassionate, driven, and just 3 months away from graduating. But in February of 2026, that future was suddenly cut short. At around 1:30 p.m. on February 5th, a 911 call came in from Darron Lee's home on Snow Cone Way in Ooltewah. Lee told the dispatcher that his girlfriend was not breathing and that CPR was underway. The call was routed to deputies as a medical emergency, but when officers arrived at the home, the scene told a completely different story. Deputies found Bella lying unresponsive on the living room floor, already being treated at the scene by EMS. She had visible injuries that immediately raised concerns. Lee's explanation was straightforward. He said he had woken up from sleep to find her unconscious on the couch. As officers moved through the home, what they observed added to their suspicions. There were no signs of forced entry. Broken glass lay scattered in the kitchen. Blood was found in multiple areas of the house, on walls, floors, and even the staircase. And cleaning supplies had been left in places that made no practical sense, locations that suggested to authorities that someone had recently been trying to clean something up.
She take like any painkillers or anything like that?
Does she?
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay. She always takes her vitamins or whatever, but I have no idea. I was just upstairs. I came down. She was laying right there.
Where she leave? It's my fiance. Where's her medicine? Where's the medicine?
These are here. I don't know.
Hey, sir. I can hang out. Let me just see you, okay?
Pack my
Where's your phone?
When deputies considered the amount of blood and where it had been found, it didn't match Lee's version of events. It wasn't the picture of a man who had simply woken up to find his girlfriend unresponsive. And then there was Lee himself. Officers described him as frantic, nervous, and unable to provide clear answers about what had happened inside the house. At that point, deputies wanted some clarification from Darron Lee.
We got your phone? Hey, come on. We'll go right outside. We'll talk while there. Yeah, it's fine. Tell me what, so what's going on? You said you were up there sleeping.
Yeah, I was asleep.
Okay, what was she doing last time you saw her? Do you know around what time you saw her last?
I don't know. I don't know if but I guess went to take a shower. And then that's it. I was knocked out.
Around what time was that?
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Did you work last night or?
No, sir.
Okay. What's with all the broken stuff in there?
The glass just shattered because we left the window open, and so when it got warm, when we reheated the house, it just like exploded. So I was just cleaning that up. So that was before I was falling asleep.
Okay.
I thought she was gonna come down and like finish it up from the dustpan, but I come back down, and then this is what happened. Is she okay? Is she okay?
I didn't work on it right now. You said that, okay, so explain, so the window was open, so the house froze?
Yeah, it was cold. I didn't know that she like had it open, and so that just shattered. But like nothing was like.
You said then when you close the window, turn the heat on?
It just like, you know how it like shrinks and expands. That's all I know. Is she okay?
They're still working on it. What is, what's her last name?
Perpetuo.
How do you spell that?
Perpetuo.
Her first name?
Gabriella. Gabriella.
Do you know her birthday?
Yes, 8/19/1996.
That's all.
I don't know that this is, I do what I do know from, it was like last week, our second day here. She had slipped, we were trying to get a bath mat. So I know she's like, 'cause I caught myself, like before, that's what my left exploded. But I don't know what happens in the shower. She takes long showers, like really long showers, and I have absolutely no idea. Please go. Okay. My phone get that one.
What about the grab a charger? Grab a charger.
Oh my God, babe! I didn't see you. I see you in the second in the closet. Oh my God, Dad.
What is it you're looking for?
Looking for a big block.
Like a charging brick?
Yeah, the big one.
Jesus. Do you have kids in school?
We got kids?
Yeah.
No, sir.
You don't have kids that are, okay, so make sure you have kids that are about to get off the bus or something.
Oh my God.
I don't see that.
Yeah, no. Oh my God, Belle. Oh my God. So, see, yeah. See, oh my God.
Hey, come on.
Yeah, so
We'll get you a break out here.
for sure. Your fiance? I see. Yeah. Okay. What kind of so Tony's pregnant. She's pregnant? I don't know, sister. She's trying to be pregnant. Okay. Yeah. Did she take medication? All medication downstairs. Okay. And when was the last time that you saw? Is she Gabriella? Yes. When was the last time that you saw her before you found her like this?
Hey.
Right before my car. Taking all those patients to not it's a holiday. She really gets you. Is Adderall? No. I wouldn't know because like you see the little pill balls that she has, those little pill balls that she has up there. That's I don't know. I don't even know she has them. She keeps them in her back. She keeps it in her backpack.
Come on.
She keeps it in her backpack.
He's in the stock. Don't have it yet.
Hold up.
We'll get you one out here.
Hold on for a second. Oh my God. Tell us. Hold on a second.
And so so I got here kind of late, so tell me what's going on with it.
So I came downstairs, I woke up, okay, and she was already laying on the couch. Okay, while she was asleep. She was already laying on the couch when I got down. But beforehand, I don't know if she was going up or down. I don't know, is what I'm saying. And so I came down, and then like she was just laying on the couch on her side. And then I'm like, hey, man, what do you want to eat? And she's wasn't saying anything, and that's why I called 911 immediately. I'm like, well, what is going on? Because waking up, I'm like, what the hell happened? Like, I was out. I was sleeping a long time. I was trying to figure out. I don't know what happened.
Is she bleeding?
What's up?
Is she bleeding?
Was she?
Yeah.
Like, actively? I don't know.
I didn't see her just now.
Oh,
I didn't go up to her. I don't know. So what is someone was bleeding because there's blood going down the stairs.
yeah, it was probably her. If you look back in the shower, I'm back, there was a book right there. I don't know if she fell and tried to get down. I didn't hear it. Like, you can't really hear much.
Did y'all sleep in separate rooms?
Yeah, because we have to put in a bed yet in my bedroom. I don't know if when she got in there, she felt like, I have no idea.
Wait, what? What did you say?
They're still working on her. Hold on, no questions. Because let's see, I do this.
Thanks. Okay. He just made a comment about, I don't know if she died, she died there. I think she died in the shower downstairs. There's blood and handprints and bloody handprints on the walls.
So we got a couple of them. Just they're calling it. Just do it on the lighter side.
No, we need it. Just hang them in a car or something. It's a big important issue.
Seriously, I want to work this. Because, yeah.
I was asleep for a long time. Okay, so when's the last time you actually talked to her? When she talked back to you? I was talking to her yesterday evening about 6 You've been here the whole time? Have I been here the whole time? Yeah. No, Brandon did some errands. When did you come back? I think I was about 5-10 minutes like after, but that was she was still awake. Yeah, she was still awake. And then I came back and I was
We're going to put it in the car together. Alright. We got some people coming out.
Lee was detained while authorities processed the scene. Forensic techs applied a chemical called Blue Star, similar to luminol. This testing showed that blood had been cleaned from several areas of the home, suggesting someone had attempted to conceal evidence. Additional traces of blood appeared throughout the house and even inside a vehicle in the garage, indicating the violence may have moved through multiple rooms. In one room, the Blue Star reaction revealed something particularly disturbing: a set of human handprints embedded in the carpet. Investigators would later note that the prints appeared to show someone pressing their hands into the floor, as if struggling to push themselves up or crawl away. At the time of this video, authorities have not publicly confirmed who those handprints belong to. According to the police affidavit, Lee himself bore signs of a physical struggle. Investigators documented injuries to his face, his hands, and his chest. Blood was also found inside his cell phone case. His phone and his clothing were seized as evidence. What investigators documented on Bella's body was deeply disturbing. There was a wound consistent with a stab injury to her abdomen. She had severe bruising to her head and around her eyes, as well as a broken neck. Bruises covered her arms and torso, and perhaps most chillingly, what appeared to be a human bite mark was found on her shoulder. Her body was transported to the Hamilton County Forensic Center, where an autopsy was performed. The conclusion was that Bella died as a result of blunt force trauma to the head. She was 29 years old. She was 3 months from graduating. She had her whole life in front of her. With the forensic evidence piling up, investigators had seen enough. Lee was taken into custody at the scene and arrested later that day. He was charged with first-degree murder and tampering with evidence. Bond was denied. But the story did not begin in that house in Tennessee. In fact, allegations of violence surrounding Darron Lee stretched back years. As investigators examined Lee's past, they learned he was on active probation in 2 states, Florida and Ohio. In 2017, during his second season with the New York Jets, a woman filed a lawsuit in New Jersey alleging that Lee had assaulted her at a house party earlier that year. He denied the allegations, and the lawsuit was later dismissed. In April 2023, Lee was charged with domestic violence and assault stemming from 2 incidents, one in October 2022, the other in April 2023. The 2023 incident involved Lee's own mother. According to police in Dublin, Ohio, a witness ran upstairs after hearing screams and found Lee on top of her with his fist raised. The witness pulled him away. Lee's mother later told officers he had pushed her into a wall, knocked her to the ground, and punched her repeatedly in the face. Lee ultimately pleaded guilty in 2025 to a reduced charge of attempted assault. He received a 90-day jail sentence with 88 days suspended, meaning he served roughly 2 days behind bars. He was placed on probation through February 2027. The 2022 incident involved another woman who told police Lee had thrown a phone that struck her in the head hard enough to make her ear bleed. The report also described Lee grabbing her by the neck while punching a pillow beside her head, leaving visible red marks on her throat. A pattern was clearly taking shape, and investigators would later reference this history during Lee's preliminary hearing.
Okay, let's go ahead and bring out Mr. Lee. Alright, how's our signal? We good? Alright, we're here on docket number 2006151, first degree murder. Docket number 2006152, tampering with or fabricating evidence for preliminary hearing, Mr. Darron Lee.
In early March, Lee was in court for his preliminary hearing, during which investigators revealed a highly unsettling detail. After downloading the data from Lee's phone, detectives learned that Lee had been asking ChatGPT for advice about specific injuries and police involvement the day before the 911 call was made.
Did ChatGPT throughout this conversation appear to give Mr. Lee advice?
They did, yes.
Okay. What does that say?
This is from Xander Lee to ChatGPT. Hey, Allie, what are physical signs of injuries of slip and fall in bathrooms, in the shower?
Is that on February 4th?
February the 4th, 2026 at 11:49 08
And do you know what in this disagreeing one, is he responding to something that ChatGPT had responded with?
Yes.
Do you recall what that is?
Slip and fall can cause punctures, I believe is what it says. And he responds back, stab wound like punctures from hitting anything.
Again, ChatGPT is responding to his questions.
Yes. Says, yeah, it can happen, but these are important distinctions to make. Can a slip and fall cause injuries, stab wounds? Yes, it's usually under specific conditions. What would it look like? Small, deep puncture, looking wounds, round or oval. Minimal bleeding at first and swelling later. Looks stabby, even though it wasn't a knife.
And to your knowledge, based on reviewing the messages in totality and not just snippets here. Is this similar to the conversation that Mr. Lee is having with ChatGPT over the 4th and the 5th?
Yes.
On February 5th, do you recall seeing messages where Mr. Lee is asking ChatGPT about calling 911?
Yes.
Do you recall the substance of those messages?
He kept telling he wants to call 911, but he wants to make sure that it's a EMS issue and not a police matter.
Here where we've got the bottom of the ChatGPT is, do you see where it says, if you want, tell me this?
Yes.
Does that often occur in these ChatGPT messages where ChatGPT asks more questions or it asks basically for follow-up?
Yes.
Okay, and so you can see, correct me if I'm wrong, ChatGPT says, yes, falls can cause puncture or hearing wounds. They usually don't look like clean knife stabs. Context surrounding injury pattern matters more than the hole itself. And then it says, if you want, tell me where on the body, how many punctures, depth and size, what objects were nearby. I can help you sanity check whether it lines up, I think that's it, sanity check, whether it lines up with a slip and fall or it's something that should be evaluated ASAP. Again, is this similar to other messages between Mr. Lee and ChatGPT?
Yes.
And what does Mr. Lee say?
His response is yes, middle gut, inside hip.
Do you recall if Miss Perpetuo had injuries around her gut or side hip?
Yes.
What were those?
There was a stab wound, and then her hip, there was on her leg was a bite mark. A stab wound on her thigh as well.
ChatGPT again says, if you want, you can tell me. So again, is ChatGPT asking for more information from him?
Yes.
Okay, and can you see that Xander Lee, owner, says, yep, bruised below the 2 stabby looking wounds.
Yes.
Mr. Lee, and this message says both her eyes are swollen, question mark. What date is this?
That is February the 4th, 2026 at 11:54:49.
The next message from ChatGPT says, okay, pause the jokes for half a second because both eyes being swollen is still possible from a fall, but it crosses into get checked territory, not ice it. Do you recall what message from Mr. Lee, you may or may not, resulted in ChatGPT telling him to pause the joking?
I can't say for sure which one the joking ones came from. There were so many, I just don't recall.
Are you familiar with what LOL means?
Yes.
Are you familiar with what LMAO means?
Yes.
What does LMAO mean?
Laugh my ass
What does LOL mean?
off. Laughing out loud.
In any of Mr. Lee's messages during this time period about injuries to a person, does Mr. Lee use LMAO or LOL?
Yes.
I believe this is the last one. What's the date on this one?
This is 2/4/2026 at 12:03:33.
He says, Xander Lee, owner, says, bet. She got blood all over the damn place. Is that correct?
Yes.
After the hearing, the judge found probable cause and bound the case over to a grand jury. If indicted, Lee would face a full criminal trial in Hamilton County, where a jury would ultimately decide his guilt or innocence. For now, Lee remains in custody without bond as the legal process continues. If convicted of first-degree murder in Tennessee, Lee could face 3 possible sentences: the death penalty, life in prison without parole, or life with the possibility of parole, though even that would require serving at least 51 years behind bars. While the criminal case moves forward, Bella's family has also taken legal action of their own. They filed a civil lawsuit against Lee, holding him responsible for Gabriella's death and seeking financial damages. The civil case works a little differently than the criminal one, doesn't require prosecutors to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, which is a much harder bar to clear. Instead, it operates under a lower standard of proof, meaning it could move forward on its own timeline, independent of whatever happens in the criminal courtroom. There's a version of this story that begins and ends with football, with a promising career that never reached its ceiling, with a player who reached the NFL but never became a household name. That version of the story is disappointing, but it's not uncommon. Plenty of first-round picks don't become the stars their draft position suggested they would be. But that's not the story we are telling in this video. In this video, we're telling the story of Bella, a young woman who moved across the country chasing a dream of caring for newborns, who was just months away from holding that degree in her hands. A woman who, by every account, made the people around her feel seen and welcomed. And we are telling the story of how her life was cut short in a rental home she'd only lived in for a few weeks. As the legal proceedings against Darron Lee continue to unfold, the full picture of what happened in that February afternoon in Ooltewah, Tennessee is still being pieced together in a courtroom. What we do know is this: a promising life was taken far too soon, and a man once cheered in packed stadiums on Sundays now sits behind bars daily, charged with ending it.